Disney is coming out with its own technology with the robotics section, and it's so exciting to see them approaching Westworld kind of ideas where we're going to be fully immersed into the park with characters and stuff, and we're going to break it down.
Dolores. Everyone, welcome back to AsArt with Nick, John, and expert Kyle. We've been talking about crazy robotic technology coming out of Disney. You see this technology coming out in other companies that are robotic companies, but it's cool, like the Imagineers and things like that, bringing that hopefully to parks coming up soon.
It's so cool. By the way, guys, we do awesome reviews on technology stuff from Unreal to video game technology stuff. So subscribe to stay updated to all the cool stuff we're going to be covering. So Boston Dynamics is leading the way with bipedal, quadpedal, like robots and stuff. And instead of just like reaching out to them or whatever, Disney's like, let's do our own division with Disney Imagineers, because they need to make it so like custom to what what they need in the park when it comes to characters and building this environment stuff. And I'm just so excited for the future of stuff like this.
Well, one cool thing they were saying, it reminds me of the old visual effects, special effects movies where they were doing kit bash and they'd get models from all the Toys R Us's and then cut them up. It's like they were saying, like, yeah, you know what? If we can get something off the shelf and that's the solution, like, cool, we go on the next thing. Sometimes we need to come up with our own stuff, patent it, and come up with homebrew solutions. But if we don't need to, we're not going to, which I thought was cool.
Yeah, like also I also realized, you know, they were talking about that while this is a smaller size, right? Like for this first iteration of this thing, it can scale, right? Because it's not just a single robot, it's a platform. It also represents the platform, right? Like how it moves and balances itself with the IKs and stuff like that, and then its own servos that handle that as well, plus the like expressions and stuff like that. Like that's all like scalable into other characters in the future, right? Or at least that's what they implied, right? Which is pretty neat.
So this first one, they were saying it's 2.5 feet tall, right? The young Groot.
Yeah,
2.5 feet tall. Yeah.
You know, it's like bigger than Baby Yoda, but like smaller than.
I like how we go in Marvel, like Star Wars units of measurement. It's 4 Baby Yodas tall.
Yeah. They're all owned by the same company, so you know.
Good old Disney, right?
Yeah.
But this is huge for ride stuff too, right? Because, like, yes, they have great, you know, this is going to be great for characters walking around the park interaction, but Disney's really has always been in the forefront of this with rides, right? We have the Tiki Room to Pirates of the Caribbean to all this stuff. So, like, just pushing this even farther to see robots, like, walking around on rides and stuff like that will be crazy. And they even have, like, Spider-Mans that they're working on where the Spider-Man robots like swinging around and stuff. Can you imagine just the level for the rides? And like if Pirates of the Caribbean, if the pirate actually walks across with the sword and they start like fighting and stuff like that, compared to just being like yo ho, you know, just like on a barrel.
Well, that's one thing that I always thought. I mean, the animatronics on the rides are always neat, but I've always thought that they've never been Hollywood quality. I mean, you see, was it Jack Sparrow, the Johnny Depp character on the Disneyland Pirates of the Caribbean? His face looks a little bit, it's got some of the funk in there, right? I'm curious if they just don't have the same budget to get there, or it's good enough for what it's trying to do. You're going to say something, expert Kyle?
No, I'm just saying, yeah, you're right. Like remembering the Johnny Depp animatronic character, it's got a cottage that's like Uncanny Valley adjacent, right? It's like just
yeah.
But then you also have to remember too, this isn't just for a shot. Movies, they just have to get it to work for a shot, right? Where this has to work all day, 24/7, like running without issues, and has to be able to work. Because if not, then it's going to freak out the kids when the eye pops out. Right. It starts like click, 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 click. You know, it starts twitching and glitching and
which made twitching and glitching. I like that. Twitching and glitching.
You know what this means, though, guys? Not just rides, but do you think this might be the beginning of the phasing out of costumed like characters, like people in costumes? Do you think this might be the beginning of the end of that industry?
You know, I think it will be for the unique looking characters. I think like your Disney princesses and like your you know Prince Charmings and Peter Pans and stuff will still, like the more human characters will probably still be played by humans, but like your Monsters Inc. or you know Wall-E characters or you know like those very distinct looking like characters that you can't replicate unless you have like a weird. I mean, it'd be so cool to see Mickey Mouse walking around. You know what I mean? Like you know, not have to have a character that doesn't even talk and just waves and you know.
Yeah.
It'll be
Like,
you know?
Wow, that is.
Oh, and you can get the voices too. They're
That
not
is
just going to be silent too. That's something
Yeah.
to think about that I hadn't thought about.
Yeah.
If they start doing audio stuff with those too.
Yeah, like I guess it would be like you know, like people who play human characters like Belle and Aladdin,
Yeah,
and
we'll
you know,
probably
like,
hold
those
it
would
for a
be
while.
those would be
Yeah.
the fleshies, right? They'd be the ones
fleshies?
that like are
Wow.
humans, and then the other ones they're not going to be
Fleshies.
people anymore. They're
No.
going to be robots.
Fleshies.
Yeah, and I think it's gonna be like it could be so cool too to have like a C-3PO robot walking around in the Star Wars land.
Oh,
And maybe even like General, I can't remember the guy's name from
General Grievous.
Yes, like even like a character like him, like walking around and doing its thing because he's a robot. And just like think about like a life-size Winnie the Pooh, like teddy bear style, like walking around the park with Tigger
that'd be
and stuff.
cool.
Like that would be so cool to just see stuff like that. I was such a big fan of the movie that they did with like the live action Winnie the Pooh and stuff,
Oh,
and it'll be
so
so
good.
cool to
Yeah.
see like stuffed animal, you know, Winnie the Pooh walking around like, oh bother, like climbing up trees and getting his head stuck, and like getting his head stuck, and you just see his like butt, you know, out of the tree, and someone draws a moose on it or whatever it was from the old animated.
You know, in a philosophical sense as well, it's really our modern myths and gods walking among us, right? Like at least in the near future, right? Like I mean, you know, like we have our like superheroes and like cinematic and literary worlds. They're now our modern mythology, right? And now they're going to start to become instantiated in our world in this sort of medium, right? So like it's really interesting.
Dude, it's so true though, because like think about like a Hulk walking around. That would be so sick, like a Hulk and Iron Man, like to have like those like, you know, superhero, or if they ever do the Fantastic Four, you can have the Thing and like maybe a robot that can stretch his arms around for like photos for like, you know.
I mean,
I
feel like they were definitely saying that this is not coming to the park soon. I mean, I almost feel like they'd start off with very small characters like Groot, because you know all those electronics and mechanical, that has to be heavy, where if it does fall, some kids run up, oh, Groot, baby Groot, hugs him, and then falls on some other kids. Yeah, it's going to be now imagine the Hulk falling over. That'd be a disaster.
But they'll probably have like cast members walking around with it and stuff like they do to other characters, right?
I feel like it would have to be, you know, gated off so it can run a routine somewhat, or I feel like you're not going to see them replace the costume characters until it becomes more financially feasible.
Yeah.
You know,
So John brings up a really good point, right? Is a human on robot violence, right? And now we laugh, but that we have several instantiations of that in the world already, right? So just imagine. I can imagine like a 12-year-old or 13-year-old kid, you know, full of angst, wanting to take their anger out on, you know, good old, you know, sweet old baby Groot, you know? Like, okay. So like, just like as a sort of example. So do you guys remember Hitch-bot?
Hitch-bot?
Hitch-bot. It was this robot made by by two Canadian professors in like 2015. And it gained like international attention because it like successfully hitchhiked across like Canada, Germany, and the Netherlands. And then,
I didn't know this.
And then, guys, it was built in 2013, but in 2015, it attempted to hitchhike across the United States. And apparently, somewhere in Philadelphia, it was found stripped and decapitated.
I was going to say either Detroit or somewhere that thing is going down for sure. Philadelphia, that makes sense completely.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, the robot wasn't wasn't human-like, but it looked cute, right? It had like these like little gloves and like, whoa.
I mean, Disney's always been at the forefront with technology stuff for sure, because one thing, they have a land in Disneyland called Tomorrowland, which is supposed to be like in the future, right? But like after 10 years goes by, it's like normal time land, you know?
Yeah, they had the same ride. They had the same display there in Tomorrowland for like 10 years. And you're like, boy, this looks so old. And all the displays are falling apart because it was sponsored like HP Corner and blah, blah, blah. And you're like, wow, this hasn't gotten sponsorship in a long time.
But you guys might be more in on this than me, but are they sort of like rebranding Tomorrowland as more like a sci-fi land? Like just it's more about their sci-fi properties now rather than envisioning the future?
That was Michael Eisner when he took control of the company. His idea with Tomorrowland was like how to update it with like a budget, right? Because they just opened up
Okay.
like Disney Europe, and that totally failed on them. Like they put like so much money into the marble because they're like, oh, it's going to be in Paris, or we have to have the marble from Italy, and this, they spent like so much money to make it look like the prettiest park or whatever, and it like totally flopped because people in Europe are like, we don't like American stuff. We don't want to go to Disneyland. It wasn't like, it was like a big, whatever. But so then they're like, well, we have to update stuff, but how do we do it on a budget? And that's when they did like those Golden Globes, and they tried to do like steampunk stuff with Tomorrowland. So it kind of just, when it age, it's kind of like a steampunk theme. And then,
oh, cool.
Then after a while, I was like, okay, come on, dude, you got to do something with Tomorrowland. Then they're like, oh, let's add Star Wars to it, because that's like Tomorrowland. So they would start doing Star Wars stuff, now Avengers. But I think now they're going back to like developing technology and doing more interesting stuff.
Oh, they are.
Like
oh,
yeah,
interesting.
I think that was
feel
like
it would
be
it would be a much safer bet to just make it, like you said, if
but
they had Star Wars, or they have Star Trek or Marvel, that would be a safer route. But,
yeah, but the reason why Walt Disney wanted Tomorrowland, because he never wanted the park to be stale. He always wanted to be there. That's why he named it Tomorrowland. It was like a reminder. Like how you have like reminders and stuff. It's like, oh, that's right, I got to always update this, or this always has to be the most advanced. We can't just get comfortable with this. We always have to be pushing the boundaries and stuff like that. So that was like his Tomorrowland. But
at the same time, I felt like that dated that particular attraction where you went in that big dome and you went in there. You really had to stay on top of them. That's expensive, I'm sure, to update all the time. But
I think Disney has some deep pockets.
I was like, when I saw Baby Groot kind of walk out and wave.
Yeah.
I was reminded of, have you guys heard of the concept of like the fourth industrial revolution? That we're currently in the fourth industrial revolution. So all the information age era, like technologies and information that we have now is now being brought to bear in like our industrial processes. But the thing is that while we have like all this new automation in the industrial space and like fabrication, it's starting to bleed over into something that's more performant, that has more of a limbic system, right? It has behavior and it interfaces with humans, right? Which requires a lot more sophistication, right? Yeah. And this Baby Groot is like the first steps towards that, right? And it's interesting, to say the least.
I mean, and of course they've had other robotic type things like this out there that you've seen over the years, doing backflips and things like that. So there's other ones out there. It's just, this is trying to depict a very particular look and things like that.
So what I mean is, though, like, so let's like take Atlas, for instance, right? Like when he's doing backflips, yes, that's physical skill, right? That's something that is performant in a physical sense, right? But I'm talking about performance in a way that touches your heart, right? Something that like, like they can make, because they talked about Baby Groot being able to make eye contact with someone and then smile, right? That's is something that's like, that's like getting into our emotional core rather than some, And
it's also breaking that weird wall with robots and CG technology and stuff, right? Is like making it feel human or alive kind of thing. And it's those little things like, when a character looks at you and reacts and, talks and stuff, that's what gives that's what breathes animation life into it, so it can be fun to see.
And Nick, I know since you're in Southern California, did you ever go to Downtown Disney and do that Star Wars attraction where it's kind of, so we went and did that before we moved, and it was fun to try, like it was with a couple former students and stuff. And it was fun to just sit there and have them load us up with stuff and try and figure out what technology they were using. Like they were definitely using some HTC Vives for the virtual reality headsets. And then they had these backpack computers they use in virtual reality that you can buy from different companies. And that's where they dressed you up as like a rebel, but you were wearing a backpack, but it was actually a computer. And then they had hand tracking and the eyes, so you could picture it. And I just love the idea that they're using off the shelf hardware when they can, if it helps them get there more quickly. I'm curious to make eye contact, how do they have face recognition? So they know this is a face. So we look at the face and then we smile. It's just fun to try and break down. Obviously they might have some proprietary stuff that they homebrewed, but if they are using off the shelf stuff, which they were very openly admitting, it'd be fun to think of what they're using.
Yeah, I was super curious about like more on the software end of stuff, like especially how they handle their IK balancing and stuff like that. Like, is that a neural net? Is it learning, right? Like, is it learning how to balance better, like over time, or is it like a series of like package upgrades? Like, I wanted to know more about that.
I know. It's like, give us more. Like, it's as it is, it's already nice enough that they actually, because I mean, most of the time they don't even release this stuff, Disney, unless it's like about to be released in the park. So even releasing it this early, that was just awesome to see. And we love stuff like this. We love behind the scenes making of. We love all this stuff, and we'll eat it up, and we'll just keep eating until we can't eat no more. And even when we can't eat no more, we'll just keep going because we love this stuff so much.
For Disney, yeah. Just keep it going.
No, just technology in general too. Now we don't have to say we're gluttons for Disney,
We're shields for Disney. Cool. No, sorry.
It is really cool technology. It is the coolest application of like Kyle was saying, or Nick was saying, both of you guys were saying that in a movie you just needed to work for the shot with that animatronic, and you can program it to look in a very particular place. It's not reactive, whereas this is meant to be processing on the fly. They said the only cable connecting it right now is for programming, and so it's not completely standalone, but at the same time it's like, well, I'm sure a lot of that they're hoping to eventually just let it be able to run its own routines and stuff. It's crazy though to think about it. I still honestly think this is quite a ways away before they have this out with people in public. But who knows?
I think
you never know with Disney. You never know. The magic is there.
What a cliche line. So we got a fun comment on our Henry Homelander deepfake where we took Henry Cavill and put him on the Homelander. And so we have Balakrishna commenter, now make Anthony Starr as Superman in Man of Steel. That would be so cool. So go in the other direction. That'd be kind of cool. It wouldn't be horrible. So we already have one of the faces trained for the most part. We just have to train more faces on the other end, but actually very much doable and might be a fun one to do down the road.
And that's like a perfect comment for this whole technology thing we're talking about. Because deep fakes, that's a whole other thing too. And we cover deep fakes here in softwares. And there's even a new deep fake software out there I think me and John are going to cover in the future where they're actually going to start deep faking the lips of people. So when the movie comes out in different languages, it's synced correctly with the different languages, which is like, that's like one of the best ways you can use deep fakes. That's like such a great way to use it.
That's a great localization would be a great useful application of that. And then on the Johnny How To channel, which is kind of a sister site, on my deepfake tutorial videos, we kind of did an overview, but on the actual tutorial videos, someone had sent me a link for Disney's own kind of deepfake approaches and software. And they're like, can you do a tutorial on this? I'm like, they don't release that, so no, but that's kind of cool that Disney has their own stuff they're working on too. So that really applies to what we're talking about.
Everyone's getting in the game. Well, because they need a deep fake their Abraham Lincolns. No, I'm just kidding. It's like, meet Abraham Lincoln, deep fake him.
All right, guys, so let us know down below if you've seen some other really cool articles about other robotic tech out there, where you think it's going to go. When do you think we're going to see this actually in parks? Disney just said it's not ready yet, but who knows when it will be. Give us your thoughts and predictions down below. If you have any experience in this stuff, I know there's a lot of applications where you can get Raspberry Pis and all kinds of, I think NVIDIA has Jetsons or whatever, where you can, all this programmable tech. If you guys are into this, let us know down below. We'd be fascinated to hear about that. Check out AsArt, the audio and video links. Check out Picos with the 0 for Kyle's Instagram and all of his awesome artwork. I just saw some new artwork today, some amazing stuff coming out. So check out his Instagram, and we'll see you on the next AsArt.